The final hour began. Above Earth, the sky glowed red as the Empire's council ship arrived, a massive structure the size of a continent, dark and silent, orbiting just beyond the moon. It hadn't moved in centuries. Now it stirred like a sleeping god. Elia Cruz stood at the center of the alien chamber, surrounded by strange technology and lights that pulsed with thought. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't a scientist, just a radio technician from Nevada. But in this moment, she was Earth's voice. Back on the planet, every screen flickered to life. Phones, TVs, holograms. People across the world saw her face. The transmission had begun. The Empire wanted Earth to witness its judgment. Dr. Voss watched from his bunker, whispering, "Come on, Elia. Show them who we are." A circle of energy opened above Elia's head. One by one, the council appeared, not as bodies but as massive minds, speaking through symbols and sound. Voices layered over time itself. They spoke together. "Earth, you are unstable, violent, divided. You should be erased." Elia's heart pounded, but she didn't step back. "You're right," she said, her voice calm but strong. "We are violent, we make mistakes, we destroy what we love, but we also protect it, we fight for it, we learn, we grow. That's what makes us human." The council responded, "Your species cannot be controlled. That makes you dangerous." "Maybe," Elia replied. "But you fear what you don't understand. You test, you judge, and you destroy. That makes you no better than the chaos you fear." A long silence followed. The council's lights dimmed, and then a final message. "Show us. Proof of change, of unity, of defiance against self-destruction." Elia knew they didn't mean words. They meant action. Proof. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and did the impossible. She opened the disruptor again, but this time, she didn't block the Empire. She linked Earth's frequencies to theirs. Let them hear it all, every prayer, every scream, every laugh, every song. The beauty, the pain, the madness of humanity. Raw, unfiltered, real. It hurt. The data was too much. The chamber shook. Blood poured from her nose. Her hands trembled. But she held on. And finally, silence. Then, the council spoke one last time. Decision reached. Earth is not ready. But it must not be destroyed. It must be watched. The council ship turned away. The Empire began to retreat. The war ended before it ever began. Elia woke up 2 days later in a hospital near Anchorage. Voss sat beside her, smiling through tears. "You did it," he whispered. "You made them see us." She looked outside. Skies were clear. No ships, no signals, just stars. "What happens now?" she asked. He shrugged. "Maybe they come back. Maybe they don't. But we're still here." News spread across the world. Elia Cruz, the girl who spoke to the stars, who stood in front of an empire and said, "We are worth saving." She didn't become a queen or a leader. She went home, back to her radio tower. But every night, she looked at the sky, and sometimes, just for a second, a signal blinked back. Not a warning, not a threat, just a whisper. "We're still listening." Earth had survived, not by power, not by war, but by one voice, and that voice had changed everything. I want to put a video on YouTube channel on already existing video title, so I want to make video on that title. So you will help me here for generating the new title with existing titles, same nature sense. The Galactic Empire targets Earth. Our soul warning resounds, loud. HFY sci-fi story. In the middle of Nevada's dry desert, something strange happened. The ground cracked open in long, sharp patterns. Symbols burned into the earth like fire had written them. They weren't all made by machines or humans. No tire tracks, no footsteps, no sound. Just marks, glowing faintly, stretching across the sand like a warning. The people who found them didn't understand what they were looking at. They called the military. Within hours, the area was locked down, covered by tents and guarded by soldiers. No one could explain where the symbols came from. Scientists were brought in, staring at the ground, puzzled and whispering. Some said it looked like an ancient language. Others thought it was a message. But from who? And why here, in the middle of nowhere? Then things got worse. Satellites started failing. One by one, they went offline. No explosions, no signs of attack, just silence. The sky didn't look different, but birds started falling from it. Entire flocks dropped to the earth, lifeless, as if something invisible had passed through them. Airplanes began rerouting. Navigation systems stopped working for a few minutes at a time. The world didn't know yet, but something had already arrived. In a small radio station, not far from the nearest town, a young technician named Aaliyah Cruz worked the night shift. She wasn't famous, wasn't rich, and didn't care much for politics or space talk. She just liked the quiet. But that night, while adjusting a weak signal from an old transmission tower, she heard something strange. It wasn't static. It was a voice. Soft, calm, clear, but not human. It spoke slowly, as if choosing each word carefully. Earth has been chosen. Aaliyah froze. She leaned closer, turning the dial carefully. "What the hell?" she whispered. The voice repeated the sentence. Exactly the same words, same tone. It wasn't from a broadcast station. It didn't match any known frequency. It was coming from nowhere and everywhere. She recorded it, played it back. It didn't change. She called her supervisor, but he didn't answer. She checked her phone. It had no signal. That had never happened before. Her hands shook, but her curiosity was stronger than her fear. She began running the voice through the software. That's when she saw it. Hidden inside the sound wave, deep in the signal, was something more. A second message. It wasn't in English. It wasn't even in a known language, but it made her feel something. Like a whisper inside her own mind. Like it was meant only for her. At the same moment, across the desert, the symbols on the ground began to glow again. The soldiers guarding them backed away, weapons raised. Some panicked, some ran. Cameras, watching the site, glitched and shut down. The scientists screamed for help, but their radios were filled with static. And then, every single radio station in that region, even the old abandoned ones, broadcast the same message. Earth has been marked. Prepare. Panic began to spread. People didn't understand what it meant, but they felt it in their bones. Something was coming. Something not human. The military tried to stop the news from spreading, but the internet was already full of rumors. Strange lights in the sky, missing animals, people hearing voices in their dreams. Back at the radio station, Aaliyah sat alone, staring at the screen. The hidden message was still playing, repeating in a strange loop, but now the voice wasn't just speaking, it was listening. Aaliyah, it said for the first time. Her name, spoken in perfect English. Her heart stopped. She hadn't told anyone. No one could know. "You can hear me," the voice said. "You are the one." She jumped back from the microphone. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice shaking. "You will speak for your world," it replied. "They marked your planet, and they will return." Aaliyah didn't know what it meant, but she knew one thing for sure. She wasn't just listening anymore. She was part of it. The voice faded, leaving only silence. Far above, beyond the clouds, something massive shifted in orbit, invisible to the human eye, waiting. And Earth didn't even know it was already too late. Aaliyah didn't sleep that night. She stayed at the radio station, staring at the screen, listening to the silence after the voice disappeared. Her hands trembled. She tried calling someone, anyone, but still there was no signal. The world outside looked normal, but she knew everything had changed. Somewhere above, something was watching Earth. By morning, soldiers arrived. Black vehicles. No flags, no badges. They weren't local police or the regular army. Aaliyah watched from the window as they moved fast, taking over the area around her radio tower, setting up equipment, sealing off roads. Within minutes, 2 of them entered the building. Their voices were cold, their faces hidden behind dark visors. "We need your recordings," one of them said. Ilya hesitated. "Who are you?" "No questions." "Give us everything you captured last night." She thought for a moment. She had already hidden a copy of the signal in her backpack, just in case. What she handed them was incomplete. The soldiers took it without checking and left her with a warning. "Don't speak about this. Forget what you heard." But Ilya couldn't forget, not when the voice had said her name. Later that day, she met with someone who had once been her professor, a man named Dr. Julian Voss. He was a retired astrophysicist, known for his strange theories about alien signals and forgotten civilizations. Most people thought he was crazy, but Ilya remembered how he used to say, "One day, the stars will speak back." She played the signal for him. Dr. Voss froze. "This is not random," he said. "This is structured, intelligent, and this frequency, it shouldn't exist." He enhanced the waveform. As he worked, something became clear. The hidden message inside the signal was not just a warning, it was a countdown, slowly ticking down from 72 hours. "What happens when it reaches 0? Ilya asked. He looked at her, his face pale. "I think they arrive." Meanwhile, around the world, strange things kept happening. The symbols from Nevada appeared in other places, burned into forests, carved into ice in Antarctica, even drawn into the sea by unseen forces. No one could explain it. Governments denied everything, but people shared images online. Fear spread like fire. In New York, a tech company reported that all their satellites had stopped responding. In Tokyo, night skies lit up with strange flashes. No sound, no source. Scientists whispered about patterns, codes, timelines, but no one had answers. And above the planet, in the shadow of the moon, something waited. Massive, silent, and cloaked. Its shape was hidden, but its presence caused minor changes in gravity. The Empire's first ship had already arrived. Not to attack, not yet, but to observe. Back in the bunker of Dr. Voss, Ilya stared at the countdown. "We have to warn people," she said. "Tell the world what's coming." He shook his head. "No one will believe it until it's too late." Clenched her fists. "Then we stop it ourselves." Dr. Voss opened an old folder. Inside were documents labeled Project Echelon, a canceled government program from the 1980s that studied alien frequencies. He had been part of it once. They had tried to build something, a signal disruptor, based on ancient patterns found in deep space. "They thought I was crazy," he said, "but now, maybe they were wrong." Suddenly, the countdown skipped. 2 hours vanished. The signal changed pitch. Ilya looked at the screen. "They know we're listening." And then the voice returned. Not calm this time. Not soft. It roared through the speakers with a sound that made the lights flicker and the floor shake. "Prepare. Your world ends in 50 hours. The voice was different now. Cold. Angry. Outside, the skies grew darker. Clouds twisted unnaturally. Animals ran from forests. Earth could feel something was coming, even if it didn't understand what. And Ilya. Cruz, the girl who once repaired radios in the middle of nowhere, now stood between a sleeping planet and the greatest threat it had ever faced. She didn't know how to stop it. But she knew one thing. She would not run. Keep in mind that title meaning should be the same, as well as SEO, optimized for my stories. YouTube channel. 5 titles, and every title made suspense on audience. The moon disappeared. It didn't fall or explode. It simply vanished behind a massive shadow. At first, no one noticed. The night sky seemed normal. But then, telescopes picked up something strange. There was movement. A structure, large and dark, was hiding behind the moon. It had no shape that made sense, no reflection of light. It looked like a piece of space itself had broken free and was floating silently. Astronomers tried to alert governments, but most were told to stay quiet. The public was not ready, but some amateur skywatchers shared blurry photos online. The pictures went viral. People called it fake. Others called it the end. At the same time, Elia Cruz stared at the countdown on Dr. Voss's computer. It now showed 45 hours. The numbers blinked red. Every time the signal played, it grew louder, more violent. The voice that once spoke softly now carried rage. It no longer whispered Elia's name. It demanded surrender. Dr. Voss pulled out an old satellite map and pointed at different locations across the globe. "They're here," he said, voice trembling. "Ships, hundreds, maybe thousands, all hiding behind the dark side of the moon." Elia couldn't believe it. "And no one has said anything?" "They don't want panic, but look around. Power grids are failing, weather patterns are breaking. This isn't just invasion, they're testing us." That same night, a global internet outage hit for 15 minutes. All over the world, New Delhi, Paris, Cairo, Los Angeles, screens went black. When they returned, a single message appeared on every device. "Earth has been marked. Judgment begins soon." People panicked. News channels called it a cyber attack. Governments blamed hackers. But Elia knew the truth. It wasn't a message from Earth. And worse, it wasn't meant as a warning. It was a countdown to destruction. Dr. Voss explained that during his time with Project Echelon, they found ancient records from deep space probes. A civilization had once sent signals into the galaxy, hoping to make contact. But what came back was death. Every planet that answered the Empire's call was first marked, then studied, then destroyed. Earth had been quiet until now. Elia remembered what the voice had said. "You will speak for your world." But what did that mean? Why her? "Because you heard them," Voss told her. "The frequency they use, it's not just sound. It affects the mind. It chooses." She didn't want to believe it. She was just a radio tech, not a fighter, not a leader. But something inside her had changed. Since the voice spoke her name, she felt different, sharper, like a small part of that alien frequency now lived in her. While Voss studied the signal, Elia checked old military records. One file stood out. A small note about a spacecraft crash in 1834 in a forest in Eastern Europe. The report said nothing was found, except a strange metal cube with patterns on it. The cube was lost, but she saw a sketch of the symbols. They matched the ones burned. Into the desert. The Empire had been here before. They had marked Earth once, but something stopped them. Elia's thoughts were broken by a new signal. This one wasn't from the Empire. It was from Earth's defense systems. A top-secret alert. Unidentified object breaking orbit, heading toward atmosphere. Dr. Voss's face went pale. "They've sent a scout." Moments later, news broke across the world. A black object had been seen falling from the sky, burning through the atmosphere over the Atlantic Ocean. It moved too slow to be a meteor, too fast to be a plane. The military tried to intercept it, but failed. It landed in the ocean and disappeared. "We have 40 hours left," Elia whispered. That night she had a dream, not one born of fear, but of sound. She was standing in a field of stars. The same voice returned, softer this time, not angry, but curious. "You speak, but do you listen?" Elia woke up in a cold sweat. The question echoed in her mind. She didn't know the answer, but one thing was clear. This war wouldn't start with guns or bombs. It would begin with a voice. The Empire wasn't here just to destroy. They wanted to test something. Human will, human spirit, human resistance. Elia and Dr. Voss began preparing. If Earth had 40 hours, they would use every second to find the truth, to understand the message, and maybe, just maybe, fight back. Far above, in the cold shadow of space, the Empire's fleet came closer. One by one, the ships began to power up. The sky was no longer safe. At first, only satellites detected them. Small, fast-moving crafts entering Earth's atmosphere. But by morning, people could see them with their own eyes. Strange silver objects hovering in the clouds, silent and still. watching. They didn't attack, they didn't speak. But their presence felt heavy, like standing under a storm that hadn't broken yet. Governments called them probes. The media called them visitors. But Elia Cruz knew better. They were scouts, spies, sensors for something far worse. Inside Dr. Voss's bunker, the air was tense. The countdown now showed 30 hours. Elia barely slept. Her dreams were filled with voices, whispers in a strange language, feelings more than words. Sometimes she saw flashes of light, alien cities, creatures not made for Earth's gravity. The voice that once said her name now showed her pieces of something deeper. You are the signal, it had told her in the last dream. She didn't understand what that meant, but she felt it, deep in her bones, that she was changing. And fast. Doctor. Voss was working around the clock. He'd set up a homemade receiver, a way to track the signals from the hovering alien crafts. They're scanning everything, he said. Energy, technology, human biology. It's like they're taking a test before launching a war. But why me? Elia asked again. Why are they still talking to me? He looked at her and hesitated. Then he showed her an old image, an ancient stone tablet discovered in a cave in Peru. It had the same symbols as the desert markings. And one more thing, a drawing, a woman standing beneath a black sky, speaking into a device. She looks like me, Elia whispered. They've been here before, Voss said, and they always choose someone, a voice to respond, a bridge, or a warning. The pieces were falling into place. Elia realized the Empire didn't just destroy worlds. They tested them, measured their ability to resist, to communicate, to fight back. And if they failed the test, they were erased. That evening, a signal burst across the Earth again. It cut through radio towers, television stations, and mobile phones. Everyone heard it, all at once. Earth is unstable, resistance detected, final trial begins. The signal caused tremors. In 3 major cities, Shanghai, London, and Sao Paulo, power grids collapsed. Military bases lost communication. Planes dropped from the sky. Fires lit up the dark. People screamed. Some prayed. Others looted. Civilization began to crack. Elia didn't panic. She sat quietly, headphones on, listening to the Empire's signal. This time she responded. She spoke back. Not in English, not in words, but through the same waveform the aliens used. A pulse, a pattern, a frequency only they could understand. Doctor. Voss watched in silence as the signal traveled out into the void. For a moment, there was no answer. Then, one ship turned away, just one. But it was enough to know they'd heard her. Voss was stunned. You reached them. You sent something they didn't expect. They think I'm one of them, Elia said quietly. Or maybe they're not sure. She stood and walked to the window. The sky was full of silent stars, and somewhere beyond them, 1,000 warships waited for her next move. I'm not going to beg, she said. If this is a test, then Earth fights back. She turned to Voss. Can we build the disruptor? He hesitated. We'll need time, power, a clean signal path to the upper atmosphere. You've got 30 hours, she replied. Let's make everyone count. Far above, the Empire's command ship shifted its course. For the first time, it focused all of its energy on a single human voice. And somewhere deep within that ship, an intelligence older than Earth's sun whispered, "She is not like the others." The countdown continued. The final trial had begun, and Elia Cruz was no longer just a technician. She was Earth's last line of defense. The world was breaking, piece by piece. In every major city, skies were filled with strange shadows. The Empire's probes no longer stayed hidden. They floated above buildings, scanned people in the streets, and disappeared without a trace. Some hovered for hours, doing nothing, just watching. And then they started choosing. A man in Rome vanished while walking to work. his clothes left behind in a pile of ash. A child in Nigeria stood beneath a hovering probe and suddenly began speaking a language no one had heard before. In Moscow, an entire train vanished, passengers and all. The message was clear. The Empire was selecting, testing, deciding. Inside Dr. Voss's hidden bunker, Aaliyah Cruz stared at the glowing numbers on the monitor. Countdown, 20 hours. Time was running out. Dr. Voss worked non-stop, connecting wires, rerouting old military systems, building what he called the pulse disruptor, a machine meant to jam the alien frequency. But it needed power, real power, something that could send a signal not just across the Earth, but deep into orbit. "We need the horizon array," he said, pulling out a dusty map. Elia raised an eyebrow. "That old deep space station in Alaska? It's been offline for 20 years. "Exactly," he said. "That means it's not under government control. We can use it without them stopping us." Elia didn't wait. She grabbed her gear and left. Outside, the world was chaos. Highways were blocked, airports shut down, and military forces moved like ghosts, fighting a war no one understood. In some places, people were building shelters. In others, they were surrendering. But Aaliyah had no time for fear. She traveled north, using old back roads, avoiding drone patrols. With each mile, she heard the Empire's voice whispering again. Not through radios, in her mind. It was louder now, clearer, and stranger still. It didn't feel hostile anymore. It felt curious, like they were watching her more closely than ever before. At one point she passed a destroyed village. No signs of bombs, no bullets, just everything. Stopped, frozen in time, cars still running, fires burning, untouched by wind, people unmoving, eyes wide open. It was a warning. They could stop the world whenever they wanted. Aaliyah arrived at the horizon array just after sunset. It stood like a rusted skeleton, giant radio dishes covered in ice, forgotten by history. But deep underground, the core still worked. Barely. She powered it up with help from Voss over a satellite phone. The bunker was still intact. Barely. But the connection was weak. "Once the array is active," Voss said, "you'll have one. Chance. Send the disruptor signal. If it works, we buy time. If it fails—" "I know," Elia replied. "Then they come." She looked up at the stars. They were closer now, too close. The main dish came online with a loud groan. Sparks flew. Ice cracked. Elia fed the pulse disruptor into the mainframe. The countdown on her screen read 17 hours, 59 minutes, 40 seconds. Suddenly, every screen in the control room flashed white. The Empire's voice filled the space again. But this time it didn't sound like a warning. It sounded like a question. "What will you become?" Aaliyah clenched her fists. "I'm human," she said. "And that means I get to choose." She pressed the button. The disruptor hummed, low at first, then louder. The signal shot up through the dish, straight into the sky, carrying a pulse of Earth's own resistance. The ground shook. The lights went out. The stars seemed to blink. And then, one of the alien ships exploded. Not all of them, just one. A scout. A warning shot back. Elia fell to her knees. Her nose bled, her mind burned. But she smiled. It worked. Back in the Empire's command vessel hidden behind the moon, a ripple passed through the silence. A decision was made. They would now come in full force. But not to erase. To confront. To understand the human who dared speak back. Aaliyah Cruz had fired the first shot of Earth's resistance. The final hours were here. And the war was no longer just about technology or power. It was about will. The world held its breath. After Aaliyah Cruz activated the disruptor signal, something changed in the sky. For the first time, the alien ships moved. Not slowly, not quietly, but with purpose. They no longer watched from a distance. Now they were coming closer. The countdown showed 10 hours left. Across the globe, Empire ships descended, one in every major region. They didn't fire weapons. They didn't speak. But wherever they landed, they created a zone of silence. Radios died. Electricity shut off. People froze in fear. And yet, no one was harmed. Not yet. It was as if the Empire had paused, waiting for something. Or someone. Elia sat alone inside the Horizon Array's control room. Her body was weak from the pulse transmission, but her mind was sharper than ever. She saw symbols where others saw static. She heard meaning in the hum of electricity. Something inside her had awakened. Dr. Voss came through on the satellite call, his voice broken by static. "You made them hesitate," he said. "That's more than anyone has ever done." Elia didn't feel like a hero. Her thoughts were heavy. The Empire's voice still echoed in her head, but it had changed. It didn't sound like a machine anymore. It sounded like many voices at once, some angry, some curious, some afraid. She didn't understand why. Then, as the wind howled across the icy field outside the array, a shape appeared on the hill. Not a ship. A figure, walking, alone. Elia stood. She stepped outside into the cold. The figure was tall, wrapped in silver armor that shimmered like water. Its face was hidden. It made no sound. But in her mind, Elia heard one word. Come. She didn't run. She didn't speak. She simply followed. The figure led her into the open snow, past broken satellite dishes and cracked earth. No guards, no weapons, just silence and wind. Finally, it stopped beside a black floating sphere, barely the size of a car, yet pulsing with power. A gateway. It opened with a sound like a breath being held. Elia stepped in, and the world disappeared. She woke up inside a space unlike anything human. The walls were alive, shifting with patterns like thoughts. Lights moved in slow circles above. Her and air, if it was air, felt warm and intelligent. The figure stood beside her, no longer masked. Its face was pale, alien, but not terrifying. Its eyes were deep, like stars trapped in glass. It didn't speak with a mouth, but she heard it clearly. You were chosen, but you were not expected. Elia looked around. Why Earth? Why now? The alien turned, and the walls showed images, worlds, civilizations, all destroyed, all marked before Earth. All failed the test, because every world once awakened chooses violence. No balance, no understanding, only fear. And Earth? Elia asked. The alien paused. You resisted, but you listened. She stepped closer. So this is the test? To see if we beg or fight? No, the voice said. To see if you become something new. Suddenly the ship shook. Alarms flashed. A voice, not hers, cut through the room. Human disruptor pulse detected. Fleet destabilizing. Decision required. The alien turned quickly. Your signal changed something. You touched our network. You didn't just resist. You altered the path. Elia realized it now. The disruptor didn't just block their signal. It opened a door. Earth wasn't just reacting. Earth was rewriting the rules. Then let me speak to all of you, she said. Let me show you what we are. The alien hesitated, then nodded. In the center of the room, a beam of light surrounded Elia. Her thoughts expanded, reaching into a network older than time, the Empire mind. Billions of voices, memories, laws, weapons, fear, and into that, she sent one simple truth. Humans break, but we rebuild. We fear, but we fight. We fall, but we rise. She didn't beg. She didn't threaten. She just showed them the heart of humanity. Chaos, love, madness, courage, everything at once. The light dimmed. The alien stepped back. Decision delayed. Judgment paused. Council must. See? Elia looked up. How long do I have? The voice returned, gentler now. 1 hour. Then they arrive.